Another piece of housekeeping that wanted to touch on really quickly was that if you would like to earn a CEU for your participation today in this webinar, make sure that you sign up from My Learning Plan, that you're registered for this session and that you sign up so that you can get credit for your attendance at it. So again, signing into it and with that link that's on the screen in the chat and that we also have displayed, and then signing in with My Learning Plan to make sure that you can get your credit. So first of all, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back if you joined us yesterday, and welcome to your first webinar with us if this is your first Teams webinar. We're really excited you're here either way. I'm excited to be with you guys again today to talk about those next steps with Teams, which the focus of our webinar today is meeting virtually in Teams and kind of going a little more deeply than we did yesterday, but really focusing in on the virtual meetings components of Teams. We are going to start by talking about these virtual meetings from a technical standpoint, how we get those started, kind of the technical elements of those meetings, but then we're going to explore some of the pedagogical implications and how to apply these best practices of virtual meetings to our Teams meetings. And then again, just a couple of notes. You'll notice that you're muted. So as we proceed through this webinar, your microphone will be muted. But at the end, I'm going to open it up for questions and discussion. So while I ask that you do keep it muted during the session so we can proceed and benefit the good of the group with the information, I do want you to know you will have the opportunity to unmute as you go towards the end, and I'll be available for asking questions. There's also the chat feature that you can use to ask questions as we go. While I may not be able to answer them in the middle of the presentation, I'll definitely revisit them and clarify anything that needs to be addressed. So looking forward to it today. Hope you're ready to learn about Teams, and my goal for you by the end of today is to see just how simple it is to meet in Teams and to be thinking about some ways that you can actually leverage this platform to bolster student learning and enhance your PLC processes while working and learning and teaching virtually. So just to introduce myself, even though I met a lot of you guys yesterday, for those of you that are new today, I'm Maggie Phillips. I work on the professional development team at PowerUp EDU, and we are a Microsoft training partner. We love supporting Microsoft with these training opportunities. We're also an educational technology company, so we are headquartered in Kennesaw, Georgia, which isn't terribly far from you guys, and we do have offices in North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, and Florida. I did join PowerUp about a year ago. So prior to joining PowerUp, I worked for a school district right outside of the Atlanta area. Started as an elementary school teacher, then was an academic coach, and then spent my last years in the district as a technology integration specialist. So working with all stakeholders to make sure that technology was meaningfully integrated into the learning process. So very excited to be with you guys today. I welcome any opportunity to speak to Teams, as I think it's a great platform for traditional and remote learning opportunities. Also, I'm on Twitter, and I'm at Maggie L. Phillips on Twitter, and would love to connect with you if you're on Twitter. Great way to continue the conversation and to share resources and to collaborate with people beyond the walls of our schools, our districts, and even our state. So really, really great way to do that. Would love, again, to connect with you. So enough about me. I would love to find out about you guys and to get some introductions. So if you will, in the chat box, which you can access by clicking on the little text box icon within your Teams call control menu, enter your name, what you teach, and one thing that you already know about Microsoft Teams. So if you were with us yesterday, you can pull something from that. If you are completely new to Teams, maybe just tell us something you've heard about. Either way, excited to meet you and to get to know who all is here. So I'm going to stop talking for a minute and give you a few seconds to introduce yourselves. Yes, it is a hub. It is a hub for a lot of the things you already do. Awesome. it is a simple way to get things in one spot. There's a ton of integration possibilities yet. Totally fine. I'm seeing if don't know much yet. Awesome. Hope by the time you leave today, you'll have some ideas there. Let's see. Yep. Great for integration purposes. Yes, Power School. That's an amazing integration. It's definitely will streamline the way that you do things and make it even easier to use Teams in a lot of ways. The immersive reader, super excited to see you posted that, Beth. Absolutely, what a great way to make content accessible to all students. We're going to speak to that in some future sessions as well. So that's awesome, and awesome to hear that you are looking to learn more. Yes, access Teams through your Buncombe County Schools credentials. That's definitely important. Love it. Awesome. And thank you, Jennifer, for keeping everybody updated about the sign-in and the CEU credit. That's awesome. So if you haven't had a chance to finish that up, that's absolutely fine. Feel free to post it in that chat as you get finished typing and as we proceed through things. So if you were here with us yesterday, you know that the focus of the session was an introduction to Microsoft Teams. We really covered kind of the basics of Teams, how we access it, how the platform is structured, and how you can navigate through Teams efficiently. But today we're going to go a little more in depth to a component of Teams, which is the ability to connect with others through virtual meetings. And we're going to start again with those basics of the Teams meeting, how we set it up, how we get going with it, how to schedule it, and how to launch a meeting. And then we're going to explore some of the management features of a Teams meeting that are going to be available to you as a teacher. And then some management features that'll be helpful if you're facilitating a meeting with colleagues as well. We're going to wrap up with some of the best practices for virtual meetings. So thinking about how we can make the most of our time together. So kind of keep in mind as we go that this session is going to be a blend of those technical elements. And then it's also going to pull in some of those pedagogical pieces of how do we make the most of this and how do we blend our best practices for teaching and learning to this online environment with Teams. So hopefully this is going to be a valuable experience for you as we get going. And to get started, I want you to start thinking about virtual meetings. And to do that, I would like to know in the chat box, if you could set up one virtual meeting right now, who would you include and what would be the focus? So if I told you, hey, you get one meeting and anybody you invite attends and you will accomplish your objective, what would it be? So we'll be thinking about that as we go. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to post in that chat box. Again, a lot of you may say, I would love 1 hour with my students to show them how to access online resources. Or you might think, I would love 1 hour with my grade level team to collaborate. But just as we go, let's start thinking about it. And I'd love to hear what you would love to meet about. PLCs, yes, that's a great one. Just thinking if you could have one meeting and anybody you wanted to attend, students, be interactive, PLS, awesome. A lot of those of you that are pointing to joining your PLC, this is going to be a great platform. Oh, small group math remediation, be able to connect with your students and address those areas of need. Oh, Sarah, meeting with your current seniors, I bet that you would welcome that opportunity, especially in times like these. Communicate out loud in Spanish, that would be an amazing opportunity, yeah, for your students. Those are some really great ideas. And as we go today, I would encourage you to think about that meeting that you have in mind, or maybe review the chat and see what other people in your district would love to meet about as you go. And keep that in mind as we go, as we think about the way that these meetings can be leveraged. Keep thinking about that one that you have and maybe be able to make that a reality by the end of this session. So before we get started and get into the technical pieces, I do want to make sure that everyone understands one key part about this before we even get started, because you're going to hear me reference it a few times along the way. But I do want you to know that your district is working really closely with Microsoft right now to get the integration with your Google Calendar into Teams. So some of the features that I'm going to show you today are not quite ready on your end, but they will be. And I promise it will be absolutely worth the wait once that happens. But because of that, you may see things today that look a little different when you actually log into Teams at that time. So I'm going to show you will reflect what you will see when the integration is complete. So take a deep breath. If you go and try to do something as soon as we finish this session and it doesn't seem to be exactly right, or maybe there's a link that's missing or something along those lines, but just know that we're aware that this integration is not quite complete yet, but that there's a lot of people working really hard to make it happen. And like I said, it will completely be worth the wait. So we're going to start with meeting in teams, and meeting in teams can be done in a lot of different ways. But at the end of the day, it's a great place to collaborate, to host lessons, to conference with students, to collaborate with teammates. And as we go, I hope you get some more practical ideas of how you might use the Teams meetings. So before we dive into all these technical elements of meeting virtually in Teams, I want us to take just a minute to kind of look at a bird's eye view of how we might meet virtually in Teams. So first of all, virtual meetings can be done in one of two ways, or a blend between these two. But audio meetings, meaning just audio is used to connect, like a phone call would be. And then there's video calls or video meetings, meaning that the camera is used to connect participants, or maybe there's some type of screen share where a video of a screen is shared with participants. You can move flexibly between the two. So you can have an audio call that moves to video meeting, or you can have a video meeting that moves to an audio meeting. So you can move those between those fluidly, and you can switch out as you go. But just so you know, meeting virtually doesn't mean that there has to be video. Okay, so I want to make that really clear. Meeting virtually is simply connecting in real time with someone through a digital platform. And with Teams, we can do that in the context of audio or video meetings. And there are also several ways that we can meet within Teams. You can meet through the chat feature in Teams, which will allow you to make calls. And we'll speak to that a little more as we go. You can leverage the Meet Now feature, which allows you to immediately connect with people in a team. So with no prep work, no scheduling ahead of time, you can provide an on-demand meeting for your team. But you can also schedule ahead virtual meetings, which will allow you to set a time and date and purpose for a meeting. And you can schedule those through your calendar, and we'll kind of dive into that as well as we go. So again, you can have audio and video meetings. You can access them in different ways, but at the end of the day, you have a powerful suite of tools available within Teams for these virtual meetings. So before we get started, I do want to provide you just some basic technical information about these meetings, because as you're planning to have these meetings, maybe you're thinking ahead how they fit and what you can do. I do want to point out just some features. Again, we'll dive in more deeply to a lot of these as we go, but did want to point them out that first of all, you can have up to 250 people involved in a Teams meeting at any given time. So that provides you a lot of flexibility in terms of who you include, and not having to worry that having more than one group of students on at a time can cause a problem. So in any meeting you set up, you can have up to 250 people in it. There are, again, those audio and video capabilities that you can join with depending on what meets your environmental needs the best. You can share screens and other content within this Teams meeting. You can chat, share files, and have reactions inside of a meeting. So you're not just limited to what's being said or shown. There's a chat box where you can communicate in addition to the meeting or during the meeting. You can actually keep notes within Teams. There is the option to get meeting notes collected and curated, which keeps it all in one spot, which is super handy. Microsoft also provided fairly recently the opportunity to blur your background. So if you are in an environment maybe that you don't want to show to everyone, you can blur your background. There's also closed captioning during meetings, which is amazing for our students and to provide options for accessibility for all learners. You can also record meetings within Teams. It automatically saves that recording to Microsoft Stream. So you can take that recording and share it within your organization, or download it and share it beyond your organization. You can get transcripts available of the recording, again, to further access that accessibility feature. that's available, as well as polling and immediate feedback that you can get through Teams to keep everyone engaged and also to provide the opportunity for everybody to provide their insight and perspective. So again, just some basics, and let's dive in now a little more deeply into how we can start some of these meetings so that we can see how these features come to life. So we're going to start by looking just pretty quickly at how you can meet virtually with a person or group right from the chatting feature of Teams. This is just a quick and easy way to move a conversation from text to audio or video calling. As we learned yesterday, if you were with us, if not, you know now, the chat section of Teams is a place for private communication. It's only seen by the people in that specific chat, which is awesome. You'll notice that when you're in the chat section, in the top right corner of that chat section, there's a video camera button and a phone button. And from within that chat, you can launch a virtual video or audio meeting with one click. On the receiving end, it appears as if you're receiving a call virtually. So with a single click, you can connect for an impromptu virtual meeting with the full functionality of those Teams meetings features, where we can record, we can keep meeting notes, we can have closed captioning. All of those features would be within that calling feature. So thinking about this practically, because again, we're all in the education space. So thinking about a time where you might actually use this. Imagine that you're chatting with someone, maybe even a group, and you've sent messages back and forth and you think, oh man, I really wish that I could just stop texting or stop typing and just pick up the phone and call somebody and explain something. Sometimes it's just easier to say it out loud. I know that's happened to me a time or two. A message is lost in the translation of typing it out. So instead of going somewhere else or grabbing your phone or launching a call within Teams, or launching a call on your phone or another device, all you have to do is click on that video camera button to go into a live video meeting, or click on that call button to go into a live audio meeting. It makes it so easy. Okay, you can also call someone from the calls icon on your screen. Just so you know, yours may appear a little lower on the app bar, but on the left side, you'll notice that there's an icon with a phone that says call. The calls icon is going to allow you to just initiate a video or audio call with an individual or with a group. So instead of looking up phone numbers, using your cell phone, or typing out a really long message, you can start a call and again, have those full features of a Teams meeting with just a few simple clicks. You'll notice that from the calls icon, there's a speed dial button, which would allow you to call someone. There's the ability to search for someone's name to add them to a call and facilitate that immediate meeting. So before we go any further, I want to show you just in a real live drive of Teams what this would look like. So I'm going to leave this presentation briefly, and I'm going to pull up a team. So on your screen, you're just seeing a demo team. And I wanted to just show you very quickly from that chat option, again, from the space of private communication, when you have a chat going on with either two people, one person, maybe an entire group, from within that chat, all you have to do is hit on the video call button or the audio button. And again, it will immediately call anyone that's involved in that chat. And that call then becomes a virtual meeting as you have access to the full suite of Teams virtual meeting calls. You can also go down to this calls button, this calls icon on our app bar. And from this screen, again, you'll notice that you can create a group of people to connect with, or down here in the bottom left section, you'll see make a call. And to find somebody to call within your organization, so anyone in Buncombe County Schools, all you would have to do is start typing in their name. And as you do, you find their name, click on it, and you'll notice that the buttons at the bottom are illuminated now, and you can now click on audio or video to call this person. You can add multiple people to it as well to make it a group discussion or a group conversation. So again, you have unlimited options here in how you can make that call happen. So hopefully you see just how simple it is. No need to have a conversation on your phone while sending messages in Teams. You can have it all in one spot, which is the goal behind Teams, that hub for all of the things that we're already doing. So let's keep it moving. Again, hope you see how easy it is to do. There is another feature within Teams meetings that makes it incredibly easy to connect with individuals in a team. It is called Meet Now. So this is also incredibly easy to use. With Meet Now, you can actually connect with available members of a team or channel with one click on demand. So great way to capitalize on instructional opportunities, to clarify confusion, or even to provide immediate information to students or other team members within your school staff or organization. This Meet Now feature is exactly what it says, the opportunity to meet now. So you can use the Meet Now feature by going into a channel in a class team. So from there, look for that start a new conversation box. We looked at that box yesterday about how to post and how to make an announcement. But from within that box, you'll notice that there is a link in the bottom area that is a video camera. It's got a little squiggly line above it and a little squiggly line below it. That video camera icon launches what's called Meet Now. And this is going to allow a teacher like yourself or another person in a PLC to meet immediately. You'll notice that once you click that button, you can add a subject or purpose for the meeting. You can select whether you would like your video camera turned off or turned on, depending on the environment you're in. Or you can click the schedule a meeting to actually move that Meet Now to a scheduled time. Again, as you all are working on the sync with your Google Calendar, you may not see that option, but just know that is likely going to be something you see in the future. On the student end or on the member of a team end, once someone clicks Meet Now, it essentially calls all the members of a team or channel and asks them to join if they're available. So you don't have to worry. It's not going to just immediately turn on someone's camera and make them meet now. They do have the opportunity to join, which is definitely more convenient. From that teacher perspective or staff member perspective, to just give you an idea of what that might look like or when you might use the Meet Now feature, imagine you post an assignment from for your students, and you notice that there's a lot of questions being posted about that assignment. And maybe you see trends in those questions, like the same question being asked again and again and again. Instead of continually addressing it and retyping your responses, you might just click on that Meet Now option and connect with your available students, clarify directions, objectives, maybe provide information that would be helpful so that your students can begin quickly. Maybe you need to communicate something that's time sensitive with teammates that are in your PLC. So instead of typing out a message, hoping that they see it in time, you might actually leverage this Meet Now feature to disperse that information immediately. Again, just a friendly reminder that you may see things a little bit differently with that schedule a meeting option, as your calendar option isn't quite ready yet, but your Meet Now functionality is available from what I understand from our morning session. So Meet Now should be working for you guys at this time. And Meet Now is a really, really great opportunity to connect with your participants. So if you don't want to meet now, but you are looking ahead and you want to schedule a meeting ahead of time, maybe not on demand, but maybe for a day in the future or future time within the same day, you can leverage the calendar to secure a time and date for a meeting. These planned meetings are really useful and they can be used in many, many, many different ways. But let's look at how to set it up from a virtual meeting from the calendar, and then we'll explore some uses for these meetings. But again, remember that your perspective may not look exactly like what I'm showing yet, but it will in the future, which is exactly what we want. So you can schedule meetings in the calendar app on the app bar. So everybody take a deep breath. If you don't see it at this time, totally okay. It's all good. But this is the area that is kind of under construction as we speak. Again, this eventually will be syncing to your Google Calendar. So when you do click on that calendar app, you'll be displaying content will be displayed that represents what's on your Google Calendar. So to get started, once you're looking at your calendar from clicking on that calendar icon, you'll notice that in the top right corner, there is an option for a new meeting. And what this does when you click on it is it opens a window that allows you to provide the meeting information. When you see that box, you can add meeting details like a title of the meeting attendees, who you want to attend, the date and time, which is super important. You can place the meeting in a channel, and there's other features that you can enable here. To save the meeting, once you get all that information entered, there is a save button in that top right corner, which you can click on and have that meeting added to the calendar as well as shared with participants, which is super important. So I'm going to, again, step away from this presentation and pull up a Teams window, which will allow us to look at what this would look like in real time. So again, from my Teams dashboard, I'm going to click on the calendar icon. Again, you'll notice you see your calendar listed, a work week view. And in the top right corner, I have the option to meet now, meaning I can facilitate that on-demand meeting, no ahead of time planning, no set time. I just want to meet right now. Or I can select the new meeting app option here. When I get this, you'll notice that there are two tabs at the top. The first one is the details tab. This is where I'm going to enter all the information about the meeting. There's also a scheduling assistant tab. Once you start adding people to your meeting, you can then use the scheduling assistant to see if what times those people are available. This will sync to Google Calendar, so you'll be able to look and see at what point somebody is available. Maybe you're looking to schedule a PLC meeting for later in the week, or you're looking to set up office hours for your students and you want to know what time is most accessible to others. You can use that scheduling assistant and know that it will be provided through your Google Calendar availability. You'll see the time zone listed. You shouldn't have to change that. It's pretty simple there. First thing you do is you add a title to the meeting. You, of course, want that title to reflect what the meeting focus is. So you might just say virtual office hours for English language arts. Or you might say PLC meeting or data team meeting. So you name it, whatever you like. The next box down allows you to add required attendees. This is where you would type in the names of the people that you want to attend your meeting. You can begin typing in their name. It will search for the person within your organization. So no need to type out an email address or have the full name. Once you start typing in the beginning part of the name, you'll be able to see anyone that you'd like to add. You'll also notice that here over to the right, there's an optional button. This gives you the option to add someone to a meeting that can attend if they so choose. So instead of being a required attendee, they're an optional attendee. This would give somebody the flexibility of saying, you know what, that's not a good time for me. I understand that you're meeting, but I don't want to join. So you can add people as required or optional. Below that, you'll see the date that you want to meet with those people. So for example, April 29th is listed. If this is not the date you want to choose from, simply click on it and you'll have the box that pops up that then allows you to select a more desirable date. You can select the desired start time, and just know that while the suggested times listed are in 15-minute increments or 30 minutes, depending on your tenant, you can change it. So just highlight it and use your keyboard to change to put it the exact times that you would like to meet. Notice it will tell you how long that meeting is scheduled. And you also have the opportunity to make that meeting listed as an all-day availability. Example here might be if you wanted to say, hey, everyone, I'm available all day on Tuesday to answer any questions you might have about this project. Or maybe I'm available if you just want to connect to learn more about this or to learn more about how to accomplish a task that we're doing in remote learning. You can make your meeting available all day. You'll also notice here down at the bottom that there is a repeat button. So if you create a meeting that you know you want to have next week or the week after, or you want to set up to be a reoccurring event, you can do that. It can repeat every day. If you're doing something like office hours from 9 to 10 a.m., it could be something that repeats daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, or you can custom set up how you'd like those to reoccur. So that saves a lot of time if we're thinking about working smarter and not harder, I would encourage you to really think about how you might use that repeat button to give your students and maybe teammates consistency in when you're available, but also to save you time in the meeting setup point. The next piece is meeting in a channel. And this is the piece that a lot of people often miss, and it's a great opportunity to streamline how you do this. So instead of adding individual people, if you'd like to set up a meeting for all the members of a team or all the members of a channel, you can go to this section that says add a channel, and it will immediately show you every team that you are a part of. And if you click on that team and select a channel, then this meeting will go, this meeting invitation essentially, or this meeting notification will be shared with every single person in that team. So you can then not worry about individually entering names, that you can just know that this meeting will be designated in a specific location, meaning anyone within that location has access to it. Perfect example is if you do want to have a virtual class meeting with your students, and maybe you've got 30 students. I don't know about you, but I would not want to spend time typing in all 30 names. Instead, what I could do is find the team that represents that group of students, select the channel in which I'd like to meet, and then automatically know that anyone that's involved in that team is going to have access to the meeting. So I don't have to enter everyone individually, which is a deep sigh of relief. The next box down provides you the location option. Again, most of what we're doing right now, if not all, is virtual. So chances are you probably will not use this physical location piece. However, once we get back to normal and people are actually going to the traditional school building, you could add a location as well. If there's a physical location for the meeting, that would go here. And then, of course, you have the details for the meeting. If there's things that you would like people to be prepared with ahead of time, or if you would like to provide information about the focus of the meeting or things that'll happen, you can post all of that here. Once you get this information filled out, once you are ready to go, you click on the send button in the top right corner. Again, note as we're looking at this that I have posted, instead of adding individual people, I've set this meeting to happen in my Language Arts Section 3 team within the general channel, meaning anyone that's in that group is going to receive the notification, because again, I don't want to type in my students' names individually. So all I'm going to do is click send. It may take just a second, but you'll notice on the screen that that meeting is being added. It's spinning to show that it's in progress. I can then come back to my calendar at any point, click on that icon, click on that event on the calendar and have access to it. I can also go into my teams. So I'm clicking on this teams icon, going into that language arts team where I scheduled the meeting. And I'll notice now that it's been made a post within my actual team. So again, anyone that's in this team is now seeing, hey, Maggie Phillips scheduled a meeting, and they see the time and the date. They'll also receive ongoing notifications ahead of that to let you know that that meeting is happening. So I'm actually already receiving some notifications about it, closing those out. Again, they could click on this meeting to join, or again, you could go back to your calendar and you'll notice that those virtual office hours are listed. One thing I also wanted to point out is once you do create an event, or as you're creating one, if you would like to invite someone from outside of your organization, obviously I would encourage you to proceed with caution in doing that. But if you do want to add someone outside of your district, you would type in their full email address here. So instead of typing in their name, because it won't represent it, it will not find a name, you type in the full email address of the person that you would like to attend, and then it will let you know that they're going to be a guest in that meeting and will have limited access, but could still be a participant in it. So you can add their email addresses here. But again, once you create that meeting, it's been saved. You'll notice at the top, you have access to meeting options, which will allow you to make some changes to the meeting if you'd like, from how people are able to join to whether people receive notifications if other people join. There's just some great meeting options here. And then if you do make a change to it, let's say maybe 12:15 didn't work for most people and you made a change, you can just click on this send update button in the top right corner, and it will go ahead and notify everyone of that change. So you don't have to go through and update everyone and let them know. All you have to do is send the update and Teams will take care of the rest. It often happens too that we schedule something that we need to then end, and that's okay. So if I have created this meeting and then I decide it's not a good time for me, or maybe it's not a good time for my participants, we can delete that. And to delete that, all we have to do is click on it. And in this top left corner, there is a cancel meeting button. So by canceling the meeting, it's going to go ahead and send a notification to everyone, let them know it's canceled. Within the team section, I will also see that we have a cancellation notification. So just rest assured that even if you make a meeting, it is possible to cancel it and everybody will be notified. So deep breath there, you can't really mess it up. That's kind of the purpose and the function behind that calendar icon, and the way that we set up a meeting with new meetings. So hopefully you see that that's pretty streamlined and straightforward. Once you do it a time or two, it makes it so much easier and the process goes so much quicker the more that you do it. Okay. So just as we've kind of talked about how easy it is to set up, I wanted to think too about the practical application, because we ultimately are all here because we want students and teachers to have the best possible experience with virtual learning and with traditional learning. So wanted to again look at these practical ways that you can leverage these virtual meetings within Teams. The first is, let's start with virtual hours, which is a time to connect with students or colleagues. When school's in session, you can probably think of a student or 10 students that stop by regularly, maybe before school or after school, to get help on an assignment or a topic that maybe they don't fully understand, or maybe just to connect for that support along the way. You can actually probably think of a student or two that really capitalize on the ability to connect with you in the classroom when you're actually in a face-to-face environment. Maybe you can think of a colleague that swings by regularly to talk about an upcoming lesson or event or something you all have going on. Basically, there's times where less formal professional interaction happens when we're at school and things are proceeding as normal. But as we're all at home right now and during times of this, unusual remote learning, you likely miss out on some of those interactions. But one way to mitigate that is to create virtual office hours in the morning or the afternoon that students might stop by. They could ask a specific question, get help with something, clarify information. You might even set up a separate time for your colleagues to drop in and collaborate. When you're setting up these virtual meetings, again, for the office hours, all you have to do is create that Teams meeting. Maybe you make it reoccur if you want people to join at the same time. But it just lets other people know that they can drop by for that individual support or the discussion time or the collaboration without an agenda, without a lot of structure. It's just making yourself available during that time. And surprisingly, it goes a long way. Another way that you might use the virtual meetings within Teams is actually synchronous lessons, meaning teaching in real time with your students. Teams makes it so incredibly easy to teach a virtual lesson. Again, schedule that meeting, or if you are noticing trends within a team, you might click on that Meet Now button and launch a lesson. You may find, and I imagine that you will find, that the majority of your remote learning and what you're doing right now with your students is asynchronous, meaning that your students are kind of working on things at their own pace, on their own time. And you may have periodic calls with your students where you connect or tune in with them at any given time. But there are likely times when you wish you could teach a virtual meeting. And let's be real, your students actually do miss you. Despite what many people think, they miss seeing your face. They probably miss your lessons. They miss connecting with you. We know they miss their friends and connecting with their classmates, but hosting these virtual meetings in Teams can give you the opportunity to teach a lesson, either maybe in front of your camera speaking, or maybe presenting a screen that has a simulation or a presentation on it. But either way, these synchronous lessons in teams are a great way to connect with your students and provide that instruction that they're not getting in the traditional classroom right now. So, now that you know how to set up a virtual meeting, and again, I hope that you're finding that that's a pretty streamlined and easy process. Now let's look at some of the features of a Teams meeting that are gonna maximize your time within Teams. So some of this you may go, okay, well that's kind of cool, but I'm not sure how I'd use it. But when you get into meeting with Teams regularly, you're going to be happy you know these things. Because it's far easier to learn ahead of time than to be facilitating a call or meeting and not fully understand a feature or how to make something happen. So want to make sure you kind of have an idea of some of these features that are there and how they can change the way that you host a meeting. So in a Teams virtual meeting, there are kind of two groups of people involved here. There's the organizers or the presenters. Again, the organizer is that one person that pulled the meeting together, and the presenter is or could be the person that's available to present content. And the other group of people involved are the attendees. So once you create your meeting and you join that meeting at meeting time, you can right click on the name of any of any people in the meeting and move them to either be an attendee, or if they're an attendee, you can make them a presenter. So again, once you get into that meeting, it's very easy to make that change. I would encourage you to always, in meetings with your students, have them move to be attendees so that they have a little less access, because again, the presenters and the organizers have different level access than the attendees. Now, in both roles, presenter or attendee, you can speak and use your video to communicate. So everybody has the opportunity to speak in a Teams meeting. They can participate, an attendee can participate in the meeting chat, just like we've had this chat going on in our meeting. You can use that as well if you're an attendee. And you can also browse a PowerPoint or presentation that's shared by a presenter at your own pace. So know that that exists if you're an attendee. But however, only the presenter or the organizer can share content, meaning that you won't have an attendee sharing their screen, which is really important if you are meeting with students and it is a lesson that you're teaching and not so much a collaborative lesson. Presenters are also the only ones that can mute other participants, or presenters and organizers can mute other people. And that is awesome news, because the last thing you want to happen in a virtual meeting is for one of your students to mute you. It sounds funny and they find it funny, but it does take away from the time that you have together. So presenters and organizers can also remove participants from a meeting if needed. They can admit people from the lobby if you have asked in those meeting options for people to join the lobby. And the presenter can also start and stop recordings of the meeting or lesson. So if you really think about it, the role of someone in a meeting is pretty important for the management aspects. If you're having a PLC meeting or a meeting maybe with your grade level team or a data team, those management features might not be quite as important as they would be if you're meeting with students. So kind of keep those in mind as you go. Okay, now video blur is another feature that has been unleashed in Teams, and I will say video blur for the win. The reality is that many of us right now are working out of spaces in our homes that were not originally designed to be home offices. Let's be real. You may be sitting at a dining room table or on a couch, or maybe at times if you've got a bunch of small kids running around, you're in a small quiet space where you can find a little peace and quiet. If you want to engage in that video meeting, but you're not quite comfortable with the idea of displaying your background to everyone, you can blur it. To do this, all you have to do is click on the little ellipses and select the Start Video with Blur button. So you'll see it happening on the animation on the screen. You just click on the three little dots and select Start Video with Blur. And again, it's going to blur your background. You will still show up clearly. We'll be able to see your beautiful face, but the background will be blurred to participants, which is incredibly helpful. I'll also let you know that Microsoft recently unleashed virtual backgrounds, which allows you to select a virtual background to display during your video. So it may look like you're sitting in an actual office. It might blow your students' mind to see you sitting in a virtual classroom, or even sitting on the beach. So those options are have recently come out. If you don't see it yet, just know you will see it soon, as it's unrolling kind of as we speak. Another awesome feature of a Teams meeting is closed captioning. Teachers can turn this on, staff members, leaders, a PLC team, anybody can turn these meetings captions on within Teams. Essentially, it's subtitles that are available to others during the meeting. You can get to this option by clicking again on those three dots or the ellipses in the meetings toolbar, and then just select turn on live captions. This is a newer feature from Microsoft, which is amazing, but you do see the word preview kind of written in parentheses, but know that it's a really sophisticated captioning system. It's very impressive. If you use it a time or two, you'll see. And actually, from a teacher perspective, I was really surprised to know the true impact that these captions made on students. It's amazing to see how much they benefit from being able to read a transcript of the words that are being said. So just another way to process it and to get that information. And of course, for students that might struggle with hearing or processing of auditory information, this can be a huge equalizer. Same thing with adults joining Teams meetings. If you can't quite hear it, or maybe there's an audio issue along the way, that closed captioning piece provides such amazing access for everyone. Amazing option. So there's some other sessions, again, in addition to the live captioning and the video blur, the virtual backgrounds, there's plenty of other settings to make the most of Teams meetings. You can set up meeting notes, meaning that you have a shared space within a meeting to curate the information that's being shared. Love having everything in one spot. Again, Teams being that amazing hub. You can record a video by clicking on that start recording video. Again, you'll see it on the screen. Once you finish a meeting, Teams does take that recording, it processes it, and it moves it to stream, and then it sends you an email when it's done. So super nice. You don't have to do anything extra. Teams literally handles that recording from start to finish. You can also select the option to turn off incoming video. That really means that when others join a meeting, they're restricted to joining via the audio feature. This can mitigate some of the risk that you might imagine can come with video meetings. Not quite sure what somebody might be doing in the video or what's in the background of the video. So again, a safe option there. It also maximizes or minimizes the impact on the bandwidth. So this is a huge consideration right now in times of high internet usage, maybe in your home or community as everybody's working virtually. Stopping that incoming video will use less of the bandwidth that's available. So just some simple features that can make it easy for you to maximize your virtual meetings. Wanted to also point out a little insider information. Microsoft did recently launch what's called the raise hand feature. You may not have it quite yet, but it is rolling out to Teams users. So again, you may wake up tomorrow and have it. You may see it in a week or so. But with this feature, you basically see a little hand icon in the bottom menu bar. And if you click on that, it's going to display a little hand over the thumbnail of anyone that would like to be called on or would like to engage. So if you look at the screen, you'll see that the lady in the top left corner's got a little hand by her name. So for management purposes of a meeting and for making the most of your time together, instead of having people interrupt by unmuting and asking questions, you can have people raise their hand and then you can follow up with them as time permits. So that's a feature that's coming soon, which is awesome. And then just to give you a head start in looking at the roadmap for how meetings are going to be enhanced, these virtual meetings in Microsoft, there's some great changes that are coming. Many of these have been rolled out. Some are in the process of rolling out. So just know that if you don't see it yet, it is something that you're going to see in the near future. Things roll out to different tenants at different times. So it could be that you don't see it one day and the next it's there. So stay tuned. Just a couple of those examples. These all did come off of teacher feedback. So teachers said, hey, it would be great if Teams did this during virtual meetings. And so the Microsoft engineers have taken that information and they have been making roadmaps of future enhancements. One of those being ending meeting for all participants, meaning that as a teacher, if I set up a meeting with my class, When I end that meeting, everyone is kicked out of it. So students can't linger on the call beyond my presence as a teacher. A management feature, very helpful there. Again, that custom video background option. Coming soon are attendance reports for meetings, so you'll be able to track who has attended your meetings. And again, that raised hand feature, which is helpful. The 3x3 video support will be coming soon, where you'll be able to see more faces on the screen at a given time. That's been some feedback that people have provided recently. They want to be able to see more than 4 people on a screen. And then another feature that's coming hopefully very, very soon is that only educators can start the meeting. So if you do schedule a meeting with your students and you have set it up on your calendar, with this feature, only the teacher can start the meeting, meaning your students can't join a meeting before you hop on. So you can provide that supervision and management during a meeting and not have to worry about students accessing it ahead of time. So did want to spend just a few minutes thinking about some of those best practices for teaching live in teams. So we would take those virtual meetings that we learned about, the technical pieces, and dive into the application, because we know that our goal here is to positively impact student learning. So a couple of things to just think about when we are hosting these virtual meetings. So thinking about first, encouraging engagement. We want students in virtual meetings or virtual lessons or people in a PLC meeting to be engaged. So a couple of things. Generally speaking, the student's age equivalent is about the number of minutes that you can expect to get uninterrupted instructional time with that student. You can, of course, teach longer than 10 minutes to a 10-year-old if necessary. But if you do that, you want to provide some breaks in the teaching to break it into smaller segments to ensure that they're able to maintain their focus or attention. And the length of those segmented sessions would depend on the age of your students. So kind of take that into consideration. If you teach kindergartners, you may want to plan for more pauses at designated times. You may want to plan for maybe students getting up and stretching and doing those kind of things. Research also suggests that asking questions at designated times and having students respond in the chat window using the emojis or the text box helps keep them engaged as well. You can direct students in these live meetings to complete forms or polls all within Teams. We'll be diving into those more over the next few days in our webinars, but you have that. Again, asking students to use emojis in the chat. You might even run a Kahoot or other engaging activity from those virtual meetings, which you have the full capability to do within Teams. So again, just some quick, simple ways to keep your students engaged if you are using the virtual meetings for instructional purposes. Again, just wanted to highlight on some more of those best practices. After you initially meet and greet your students, if you do have one of these lessons, you probably do want to ask them ahead of time to just mute yourself and turn off the camera. Obviously, we want them to have the opportunity to see each other's faces, to interact, which can be done at the beginning. But to make the most of your instructional time, it's a great idea to have students mute themselves. You can also mute them and turn off their cameras. Set your students up as attendees so that they don't accidentally mute you. Again, that might be accidental, and sometimes it's intentional because we teach students, and sometimes that happens. Keeping in mind that their attention spans are going to be shorter than if they were in a traditional face-to-face classroom. So as you're planning for that, plan those brain breaks, creating those checkpoints along the way where you can gauge for their level of understanding. Get them to maybe pause and have them unmute themselves and share a thought or insight or ask a question. All of those can bolster engagement. Also encouraging students to consider sitting at a table for your calls. That actually makes a huge difference in their ability to focus, and also the distractions seem to be a little minimized a bit there. And then be sure to take some breaks. Encourage your students to stretch, stand up, and move around a bit as you go. And then when you're done with that call, stay on the call until your students hang up, or now with the end meeting now option, you can boot them off the call, which is awesome. So again, those are kind of just some best practices if you're thinking ahead at how you might use these virtual meetings. Just some things to keep in mind. Again, way easier to have this knowledge before you start doing it than to figure it out on the fly as you go when you got a group of students or a data team sitting in front of you. So as we wrap up this session today on meeting virtually in teams, I did want to look ahead at what we're going to cover in our remaining webinars this week. Tomorrow, we're going to dive into assignments, grading, and apps that can be integrated into Teams. We're going to look at how that digital workflow is structured and how Teams can save you a ton of time in remote and virtual learning environments with the assignments option, especially with your PowerSchool Sync. And then on Friday, we're going to look at Class Notebook, which is actually a built-in component of Teams. And we're going to look at how to support student learning and engagement and collaboration inside and outside of Teams, which is awesome. So I hope that you'll be able to join us for those upcoming webinars, either in the morning or the afternoon. Okay, and just as we close, before we open it up to questions, I did want to share a couple of these resources with you. There is a link here to a Wakelet with resources about meeting virtually in teams, about staying connected, engaging your students. So if you'd like more information about that, I would encourage you to check out that link. I am going to drop it into the chat in just a second. There's also a redeem code on the screen for the Microsoft Educator community. This is a great place to go if you would like additional resources for using Teams and any of the Microsoft tools or products with your students. There's on-demand training resources. There's options to connect with other educators that are doing similar things to you in these times of remote and distance learning and in times of traditional learning. So within that Microsoft Educator community, you can earn points and digital badges. So as you complete the on-demand courses within the portal there, you can earn those badges. But because you've attended an actual virtual session, you can click on the link that I'm going to provide in the chat and hit on the redeem code button, enter this redeem code, and it will provide you digital badging as well as access to a certificate for your participation in today's session. Again, if you keep track of your own professional learning initiative, then it would be great to have that documented. So hang on to that code so you can redeem it. And then I'm also going to drop in a survey, if you don't mind. It's only 3 questions to provide some feedback on today's session. I would really appreciate that as well. And then last but not least is the session sign in. If you joined us a little late or you haven't signed in quite yet, if you'll make sure to sign into this session by going to the bit.ly link that's on the top right corner. All you have to do is enter your name as well as morning or afternoon session. Of course, you guys are in the afternoon session, so would definitely encourage you to get signed in and let us know you're here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave this on the screen for just a second. I am going to also pop the links in the chat. I am then going to review the chat, see if we have any questions. If you do have questions, I would encourage you to feel free to unmute yourself and ask. I am, for the purposes of this webinar, going to go ahead and stop the recording shortly because, again, these questions may be specific and we want to make the most of your time. So thank you so much for joining us today.